Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting, extraordinary episode of the Let's Talk About the League podcast, and welcome to the Mid Split Invitational. If you're just joining us and just watching the stream, I was just joined by a live squad of dancers where we recreated the original Twisted Fate cinematic with jazz dance. I am your master of ceremonies, Justin Sig Smith, Commissioner of the LCUS, and I'm joined by Artist of the Year, halftime performer for us today, Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, Sig, I'm good. How about you?
I am fantastic. And we also have with us today Ace. Ace, who was voted most likely to do just fine, dear, by his mother. Ace, how are you doing?
What is happening?
We're,
I'm
we're,
doing
we're,
well. I'm doing good. I'm
we're,
doing great.
we're putting on quality content for these folks.
Yes, we are.
Well, speaking of quality content, as I have said, we're pretty well past the halfway point in the split, but amazingly, everyone is still in the game. Nobody's been kicked out yet. We're definitely going to talk about that today, folks. So make sure you stay tuned. And also, this episode was brought to you by you. All our Twitch Prime subs out there. Thank you so much for your Twitch Prime subscriptions. If you don't know, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription with every Amazon Prime account. So please click the button, give us the subscription. We really appreciate it. You keep the lights on and you keep us fed. Thank you. Well, gentlemen, we had a pretty dynamic week last week. Let's talk about that. Let's start with Ace. You're set.
Oh yes, my set. Sure. We played Northern Storm, I believe. Uh, Two really close games. Gold leads were back and forth in both. Second one was a little bit shorter than the first one, but definitely showed both teams are pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good's a pretty fair thing to say. Game one, you went 11, 4, and 8 on Anivia into Baconlicious, who kept right on your toes. 10, 4, and 8 on Syndra. What was that laning phase like?
Early game Anivia is really rough. And Bacon's really good at Syndra and really good in general. Just happy I got the bird once the split. Um, yeah, early game was rough. Spicy was ganking all over the place, but the lane was unfun.
Unfun would probably be a good way to describe it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Bacon has had almost 100% ban out rate on that Syndra versus him. So, y'all made a decision to let that through, and it seemed to work out fine. Uh, let's talk about another key point of that. Callista, evil on Callista. What was the logic going into that?
I can't give away too many secrets, right? But with that being said, he's really good on a lot of champions, not just Sivir. It's, you know, so we wanted to show off a little bit more of what he could do, and we wanted to try out a different team comp than we were trying with just like rundowns with Sivir. So the Callista was a good fit. He also likes doing the crit build on her, so it's fun to see all the different varieties that an AD carry can do.
Okay, I can get behind that. I mean, he's one dynamic performer. You guys are doing incredibly well. Jeff, do you have anything you want to add about this set?
To me, this series overall just very much defined how we've seen this with Team Phoenix in the past. They don't need kills to be successful. In game one, I think they were down in kills by a decent amount. Someone made a call to just march down mid lane, take an inhibitor. And then I think Northern Storm could have played the ensuing fight better. They came in a little split up and ended up getting pretty routed. Uh, and I feel like that was the turning point of game one. And game two, Phoenix fell behind huge in kills, like 9-2 or something like that. Had a couple blunders around the dragon early on, but they still had the gold lead, even being down 9 kills to 2. And then just sort of, were able to macro their way to more towers, more gold, more lead, and eventually, I think the game ended 10-10 in kills, but Phoenix was up a ton in gold. And it was a convincing win overall. So I think it's very clear that Phoenix knows how to play around objectives better than a lot of teams. So that's something that teams will have to get up to speed on when they play them.
looking at it too, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This was definitely you had a much stronger team fight, and to what was kind of like a semi dive comp with Shen, Hecarim, uh, Echo even there, able to reach in a little back, and you came back from behind. I want to talk about the Alawi pick, Lofi Senpai, 444. What was some of the comms going in that game with the topside ace? Give us a peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah, well, Lofi and Spicy Hot Meme are actually friends, and they've been talking for this past week about how they were going to smash each other. So that game too, Spicy set up his tent top lane and made it a little bit harder for Lofi to get going. We like the pick because we want, once again, we're a pretty decent team fighting team, so we figure as long as we don't get crazy far behind early game, if we have some team fighting picks, we'll be able to bring back a game if we need to.
Well, cool. I like to hear those kind of rivalry stories. Chat with us, Slackosaurus Rex. Hey, I casted that. That you did. You did a dynamo job, buddy. Thank you for participating and giving us a hand with that. Thank you to everybody that casts. Though I will pat myself on the shoulder. Please pat yourselves on the back. You deserve it. So let's talk next about this Blitzkrieg non-live set that we had. Blitzkrieg did come out ahead game one. Won at 30 minutes, where non-lives made it a 1-1, 43 minutes in. Second match definitely more contentious. But let's talk about that. Non-lives, they had a lot to be proud of. A friend of the friend that I had feuded with prior week. Please check out that 1v1 with Commissioner Sig. Brandana, 0-5-0 on Zed. Not exactly his best performance, but when he was going into Fat Jackalope there, Morgana flexed into the mid at 7-0-9, casting that game. It was very exciting because seeing a Morgana do so incredible was refreshing, and prior to rework on her R as well. So just shows it's kid ain't broke, don't fix it. Jeff, any thoughts on that first game? Second game, talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, I'll start with game one. I mean, you hit the nail on the head for me. I mean, Brandana being really never got to do Zed things on Zed. I don't think I only sort of skimmed over the game, but I don't think I ever saw him get into the back line with a good death mark, creating havoc, getting good flanks. And that's not what you expect from a player of Brandana's caliber. And I'm sure it's not what Nine Lives expects from, a guy who I would say is probably their star player. So with him being 0-5, you really saw in the team fights that they just had no damage whatsoever. Vampita Vampire was on Ashe, who doesn't really have enough damage to carry the game until you get to like 5-6 items, I guess. She just doesn't have like a steroid. She doesn't scale that well in the mid game. And there was one particular engage. It was about like 23 minutes where Nine Lives got a good engage. They got a Scion ult coming in from a flank, but there was just no movement on the health bars. And eventually it all just got turned around because I think Brandana just wasn't able to impact the game the way that you would expect from him.
Yeah, I agree. Ace, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a reason why you don't see picks like Zed in the LCS very much. It's like, except for Isaiah last split playing all of the assassins that he wanted to. It's kind of hard to have a late game impact on those champions if you don't get snowballing early, and it's just so easy to like just hide under a tower as a mid laner and let your other roles do well too. Like there was a 6-0-8 Vayne in that first game that we like didn't have the biggest impact in the world despite being 6-0-8. But still, that was crazy to see just them pull out a flex like that, knowing that Odin plays mostly tank champs.
Yeah, and Sion too. So his trademark champ.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to point out is the flexibility of Ashe's build. I think one of the main differences between game 1 and game 2 was the Ashe build. So game one, you have Blade of the Ruined King and Hurricane coming out of Ashe, which is like the generic build for Ashe, despite her passive scaling so much off of crit. But then game two, you see that Ashe went the crit build first, and then into Blade of the Ruined King. And I think that just puts out a little bit more damage. And when you're versus a more squishy team, that might just be something to look into. Just itemizing for the specific situations you're in.
I can get with that. That's some in-depth stuff there. Good coaching. Check the mail for the check. It's going to be coming. But that wraps up that match. Now let's talk about the last set. That would be Option 12 versus White Wolf. That was a very contentious set. Option 1 winning Game 1 at 34 minutes, and Option 12 winning Game 2 at 35 minutes. Pretty consistent with the timing there. They made it right within the time frame. So congratulations on being consistent with time there. But Option 12 definitely showing why they're one of the most feared teams in the league. I want to talk specifically in Game 1 about Fat Lee's Yasuo. I feel like it was a high point, but it also showed a whole lot of weaknesses for that team because where they kept him split. It did allow for him to get some objectives on the backside, but that was a time when White Wolf really shined and showed their strength as a team when they engaged on that 4v5 opportunity to get some objectives during that time. So that was very good map awareness. They have a lot to be proud of that set. And Game 2, Fat Lee Sivir, very intimidating, but Vel'Koz, primed in on Vel'Koz, just brought the noise. Incredibly well-aimed ultimates. I use Vel'Koz like a guy that forgets his glasses and chopped his hands off right prior to Q popping, and just so much to be proud of there. We're excited to see you when you do come back. He will be subbed out this upcoming week, folks, so keep your eyes open. We do have a sub in place for that, all right? Ace, thoughts about that set?
Yeah, the Yasuo was solid Game 1. I don't have as much to say about Game 1 as I do Game 2, just because it got that 4 kills early on Option 12 side that seemed to have got them snowballing.
Well, if you don't mind, if you're going to jump ahead to Game 2, can I jump in on Game 1 for a sec?
Definitely. Go for it.
I was going to say, yeah, I was skimming over the game once again, and when they gave up those 4 kills right at level 1, I mean, I almost just like turned the game off. I'm like, all right, that's it. But I kept it on, and honestly, I feel kind of bad for White Wolf because I think that they pretty much played better, except for 3 specific instances in this game. I think that level 1, where they got put down so much to begin with, really sucked. They managed to fight their way back, though. They clawed their way back. And then it was at 17 minutes, they initiated a fight while Fat Lee was in a side lane, as Sig was talking about earlier. They got 2 instant kills, basically. Had 5 members up still, and then they continued to dive under the outer mid lane turret, and 4 members ended up dying under that turret. So they should have won a fight, should have been able to take a turret, maybe even 2, but they got greedy, gave it all back. And then they were winning pretty much every fight in their base defense. It was just they were cooped up in their base for the last 15 minutes, it felt like, could never really get a foothold outside it. But they were winning fights, and then at the end, finally, Fat Lee, he was getting picked off at the start of fights a lot during that time, but he finally landed a big knockup, got a 3-man ult, just destroyed him and ended the game instantly once he finally got one. But I think that White Wolf actually played Game 1 very well. They just had 2 really bad mess ups, and then the third one, I don't really blame them. They thought they could kill Fat Lee, but walked into a knockup.
Yeah, that's fair. Like Prime Din was doing crazy amounts of damage, had tons of stacks. Jin had 30,000 damage, which is
Pointy Ball was going off in that game.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that they were that far behind that early.
Yeah, so Game 2, sorry to have cut you off, but your time.
No, that's fair. I just have the pinpoint of what happened Game 2, which is unfortunate. There was a really good game back and forth. Gold lead was like nothing for either team up until about 27 minutes when White Wolf was ahead, and they were using that lead to push into the Baron pit. They started doing that Baron and like leveraging the Vel'Koz and the Tristana and everything like that, and then they the Malphite ult missed, which is fine, that happens. And then Vel'Koz was lasering the whole team of Option 12. About to clean up when the Victor just barely grazed him and pulled him into the center. And after that ult, the Gold Lead just swung crazy in the lead of Option 12.
Did it look to you, Ace, like there was some miscommunication or some confusion on the side of White Wolf on like whether to turn, what they wanted to do in that Baron fight? Because it looked to me like there was a little hesitation from a few members.
Yeah, it's hard when you get the Baron down that low and you think you might get cleaned up anyways. So you're like, well, dang, I have to get this gold. I have to get this Baron so at least they don't clean me and take Baron. But then if your team gets split up off a call,
it's always one of the most catastrophic moments is when like 3 people peel for a fight, 2 people stay on the Baron.
Mm-hmm. And you have the Baron debuff on you. Not a good time.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's what happened, but it just looked a little bit to me like that. So I was curious what you guys thought.
Well, it was a rough game in general for White Wolf with objectives. I mean, game 1 they didn't receive a single neutral objective, and game 2 they contested and they did much better, 100% improvement. 2-0.
Yeah, didn't they have 4 Drakes?
Yeah, they controlled the objectives game 2. The last point that I'm going to bring up with those games. 10 potential bans from White Wolf Gaming. 8, and depending on how you're counting, 9 of them were targeted strictly at Prowler. So, Jeff, again, you called it. He's a force to be reckoned with on this Option 12 squad, and he enables so readily these carries on Shaken, Not Stirred, and Fat Lee, who received the only other 2 bans of a Vygar, of a Yasuo and a Victor. The rest of them, all of them on Prowler. Literally, Prowler would have had to have been swimming in the kiddie pool of champions when he pulled out that Trundle. Well, that does round out our last week. We really hope you enjoyed it. We appreciate everyone that watched and our guests that we had involved in terms of casting. Now, I do have the scoreboard pulled up right now, gentlemen. And Ace, you're going to go into some detail with me, correct? Talking about where everybody sits. This week we are going to skip the patch preview. Please, folks, make sure that you check that out. It is relevant, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it when we cast, so you'll still get it, just not right now. First place, Option 12 with 9 points. Tied for first place is Phoenix with 9 points. Third is Northern Storm with 8. 9 Lives have 4 points. Blitzkrieg have 3 points, and White Wolf has 2 points.
Yep. And every team can still make the playoffs. I'll try to do my best to explain how the teams can make the playoffs. I'll ignore Option 12 and Phoenix since they're in for certain. They can, of course, switch spots still, but they're locks. Everyone can still make the playoffs. So here's how. White Wolf, they have the least likelihood of making the playoffs, but if they get a 2-0 over Team Phoenix, they're still very much alive. If they get a 2-0 over Phoenix, they're looking for the games between Northern Storm and 9 Lives to be a 2-0. If that happens, and Blitzkrieg also does not 0-2, then they'll make the playoffs. Moving up from that, Blitzkrieg has more options going forwards. They only need a 1-1, as long as White Wolf doesn't go 2-0, and that 9 Lives doesn't get 2-0. If 9 Lives only wins 1 game and Blitzkrieg wins both of their games, they make the playoffs. There's actually a fairly high likelihood that Blitzkrieg can make it in, assuming they're able to take a game off of Option 12.
So what's the actual tiebreaker system?
So
if 2 teams end with the same points.
Yeah, so we didn't change the tiebreaker system this split.
Okay.
It's the same as it has been the last two, 3, 4. I don't know. This is 5, so the last 4. So the tiebreaker system is head-to-head matchup. So,
Mm.
like in the situation of option 12 and Phoenix, they're both in first place, but option 12 is beat Phoenix in both games, so they
Mhm.
have the automatic tiebreaker. If a situation like Blitzkrieg and Nine Lives tie, if Blitzkrieg gets 1 win and Nine Lives does not, then it
Mhm.
goes to the speed of the win of the teams versus each other.
Sounds
So
good.
yeah, since they won one, Blitzkrieg actually has the tiebreaker over Nine Lives, I believe. White Wolf has the tiebreaker over all of the other teams.
Hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
So yeah,
Well, I'm pumped, and I'm excited to see exactly how this plays out. Uh, Also, in other news, 100% chance this season that Ace doesn't get the rose. We appreciate you participating. We hope that you'll be back to Bachelor Island next week. Uh, Now, next week we do have some interesting matches. Uh, but before we talk about those, again, tonight's episode was brought to you by Twitch Prime subscriptions. Your Twitch Prime subscriptions are what keep the lights on. They let us know that you're paying attention. Every Amazon account has a Twitch Prime sub, so you don't have to pay anything extra to reap the benefits. Go ahead, give us that Twitch Prime subscription. We really appreciate it. Keeps the lights on, keeps us fed. You're all fantastic. Now, this upcoming week, we do have 3 exciting matches starting at 5:30. This is the last week, not the last week, but next week we are on break. Correct, Ace?
yep. This is the last week of the regular season. We're on break the week of the 17th, and then we have the 2 weeks of playoffs following that.
Whew, tense. Well, let's talk about this last week. Let me pull that back up, and I'm gonna leave the scoreboard up for a little bit longer for you folks. So take that down, get your notes. We have Phoenix at White Wolf, Option 12 versus Blitzkrieg, and Non Lives versus Northern Storm. I believe that is the schedule.
Yep, you are
Yes,
correct.
March 10th. Let's talk first about this Phoenix White Wolf Gaming. Set 1. It's 5:30 CST, folks. Please join us. For those in the human time frame, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Who comes
Yeah.
out ahead, Jeff? Phoenix, White Wolf. What happens?
Well, we all know by now that Ace isn't going to share any sort of strategy going forward. But for me, normally I would give White Wolf not too much of a chance. I think White Wolf's actually a pretty good team. Like I said, I think that they were sort of unlucky, or maybe not unlucky, but they were close to at least earning a 1-1 against Option 12 last week. But I do think that Phoenix is a superior team overall. The question is, will Phoenix mess around a little bit this week because they're already locked up in a top 2 seed? They can't drop below the 2nd seed. And honestly, does it really matter being the 1st seed or the 2nd seed? Probably not too much. So if Phoenix takes it seriously, if they really want to get to 12 points and give themselves a chance to be the number 1 seed for whatever reason, maybe just try to stay hot, then I give them a 2-0. But if they mess around a little bit, I think that White Wolf can definitely play some League of Legends. They can play well, and I give them a shot. I'm gonna go White Wolf 2-0. Just
Okay. Ace, what are your thoughts? What are you going to do this weekend?
Well, let me tell you all of my plans. But I think that I'd like to give it the 1-1, which unfortunately doesn't help out White Wolf make the playoffs. I think they're a really good team. I think that the weeks they were 2-0'd shouldn't have happened, and maybe they should have even gotten some 2-0s in the other weeks. Yeah, so I think that they're a great team. It's too bad that they're playing in the first set when they don't know what they have to do. So they're going to be trying really hard to get that 2-0, but it might be for nothing at the end of the day. We're going to try to get that 12 points. break the double digits. But no, really good team. I'm scared of them. Unfortunately, we don't get to play versus Primed In, who had a really good showing last week. But I'm excited to play versus that team.
And you should be. I think if I was to give out a most improved player award over all of the split so far, I'd probably go to Pointy Ball. I'm going to play spoiler, and I think White Wolf still has it in them. I think this could be their 2-0 week. We did see kind of a revolutionary performance from Arcane Soda, at least self-revolutionary. Maybe a switch flipped in his head, but he was very consistent on Sejuani both games, averaging a very high kill participation rate. Second in assists only to the support, Ashaway, who also had a fantastic night versus arguably in contention with you and your squad ace for best team, option 12. I think they still have the potential to perform well. I am going White Wolf, but the coin is siding with Phoenix 2-0. Praise be to its name in this hallowed hall.
Praise be to it.
Amen. Now, set 2, 7:15-ish. That is option 12 versus Blitzkrieg. Ace, who takes it?
This is another one where I wish that it wasn't happening during the last week. It just makes people perform differently. But I think Blitzkrieg matches up really well versus 12. I think they're going to take one game off of them. I think Blitzkrieg's a great team, and as you can see, they only had one 0-2 versus them so far, and that was versus Phoenix in a game that got turned around, unfortunately. They should be 0-4-0. I can see them coming out, getting in that 1-1 again. Making the playoffs, maybe even 2-0ing. I don't know. They could end up in second place at the end of this week.
It could happen. There's a world where that exists. Jeff, do we live in that world?
Wait, did we just say that there's a chance Blitzkrieg gets to second place at the end of this week?
Sorry, third place.
Oh, okay. All right. And then Sig said there was a world where that was possible. I was like, wait, really? Is there? Anyways, I mean, once again, I hate to be a broken record, but once again, it just comes down to if option 12 takes it seriously. Because again, they're also locked into a top 2 seed. Do they care about being the 1 versus the 2? Do they care about those double-digit points that Ace was talking about? If not, I could see them messing around with some stuff too. It's fun. So Blitzkrieg, yeah, as Ace already touched on, they are a good team. They've had some really impressive showings. Sort of been a hot and cold team for me this split, either really good or not. So for me, I'm going to go 1-1 because of that. I think that option 12 is the kind of team that will still stay the course. I don't see them really screwing around too much, and I think that they will still come to play. But I wasn't that impressed by what I saw against White Wolf. And I'm not to take anything away from White Wolf, but I was surprised at being surprised that option 12 2-0'd, because I felt like White Wolf played well enough to win at least one of those games. So there's two sides of that coin where it's, well, did White Wolf play well or did option 12 not play that well? I think it was some of both. So coming off of last week, I don't think option 12 looked that great. And I think that Blitzkrieg will be able to take at least one game off them.
I agree to a certain extent. I think this will end 1-1. The coin doesn't. The coin thinks option 12 is going to take 2. To a coin being very conservative.
The coin's just picking all the favorites. Come on.
Yeah, it's being very conservative. I hope His Holiness will take some gambles in this third set. But I'll tell you why it's going to be 1-1, gentlemen. That's because this Blitzkrieg roster is going to listen to Coach Sig. And Coach Sig is telling you right now, you've got a star support in SNG Sniper if you put him on a tank. He had an incredible performance with Alistair in that game 1, which y'all walked away with the win last week versus 9 Lives. Do it again. Put him on a tank. Give him a Nautilus. Give him a heck, I don't care. Put Maokai. Put him on Maokai, but give the man a tank. He deserves it. He is worthy. That Alistair pick was fantastic. And you're also going to continue to allow Stelio to carry and put Fat Jackalope on a support mid laner. Even if it's not a support, but someone that can definitely make it out of laning phase pretty safe and secure versus Shaken Not Stirred. So, Fat Jackalope, Your Morgana, c'est magnifique. Just add a little bit more vision, and I think the sauce will be perfect. You guys will be able to walk away 1-1 at least. Or at least that's how Coach Sig sees it. So we'll see how that plays out. Any final thoughts on that matchup, gentlemen?
Nope.
And then that will take
Nope.
us to our last set, Nine Lives versus Northern Storm. I'll talk first about that one. And then I'll round out with the coin. He hasn't spoke to me yet, as I am the voice of the coin. If there was a team that I've hyped enough, it's Northern Storm. If someone was to take a track from the games that I've casted of them, it would sound like a broken record. I believe in them. I believe in their capabilities. I supported last split their ADC WD fan and was the support to who is their currently support in the jungle in Chaosix. And that is such a dynamic, bombastic, fantastic bot lane. I will forever sing their praises. But they are going to have one heck of a time versus this Nine Lives roster. Vampy the Vampire has definitely had some weaknesses. He's had some strengths. Last week, his Ashe game with Zyra support, who, oh my god, the damage. Give that man a mage support every time. Briho, you got something to be proud of. Or how did they say we're going to pronounce that? It was a big thing last week. Briho? Briho? Either way, son, keep with the Zyra. You got a lot to be proud of there. And I think Brandana is going to cut it on. Last week was very inconsistent with him. Game 2, Cassiopeia, 3-3-10. That Zed game, which we won't speak of. We know your capability, Brandana. We know that you are our wild turtle. I'm excited to see you go off. I'm going to give this 1-1. I think this is Nine Lives' time to shine a little bit. So, Ace, am I wrong? 1-1? Am I right? What's happening?
That's hard to say. I think Northern Storm is probably the best team in the league right now. They are crazy roster across the board and really good players. But at the same time, Nine Lives showed up a lot this split. Can't count them out. I'm sure that they're looking to make playoffs with that star-studded roster. But I think I'm going to give it a 2-0. But I'm not sure which. I mean, I said Northern Storm's the best team in the league, but I'm still just going to give it. I'm going to say it's a 2-0. I'm not sure which way. I think whichever team wins the first game is going to win the series.
Very cool. Okay. Bold predictions and not really committing to anything. We call that the Ace special around here. Also, you know what else is special? Lofi Eel with that Twitch Prime scrub. Twitch Prime sub. Woo, 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 woo. There are lights going off in my house. My next born being named Lofi Eel. Thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription, sir. You're fantastic. Jeff, what's happening? What do we look forward to in this third set of the probably most important week of the split?
I don't know. I don't want to cop out and say 1-1, but I'm tempted to. With Nine Lives, you know, I might be overemphasizing this, but I feel like they tend to go as far as Brandana goes. That's probably an overgeneralization, but we saw it at least last when he flops, they flop. And luckily for them, he hasn't flopped that. But I do think that Brandana, we saw Baconlicious have a great week last week despite being 0-2'd. I think Brandana has the ability to match him, if not slightly outpace him. We'll see how that matchup goes. I like Nine Lives bot lane. You talked about the Ashe Zyra lane. Throwback to Cloud9 back in Season 3. If anybody's been watching League of Legends that long, they brought that out way back then. If that gets taken away from them, though, I wonder where they go next. So I think that Northern Storm, they'll have a plan coming in. Nine Lives, we've seen them play a lot of the same champions. We've seen Brandana and so much cat. Not to mention the Ashe Zyra lane we've already talked about. Greybeard of Odin, very good at what he does, but people know what he does. So I think Northern Storm will come in with some preparations, and I think that they'll be able to take at least one game. I do think that Nine Lives is good enough, though, that they'll be able to adapt and get a game as well.
very well put, very well thought out. I hope the teams put as much energy into it. The coin, though, didn't put any energy, as it also chose 2-0 for 9 lives. The coin going heads the entire time. So, everyone, this is a sign of the end times. Please be aware if you are not the first name listed on the match list for us this week, you're the last. So,
Also, coin went blue side 2-0 every
2-0
single time.
Every time.
The coin believes in first pick.
That's
So
strong meta.
the coin is saying that the playoffs will be option 12 in first place, Phoenix in second place, both with 12 points, and then 9 lives in third place with 7 points, and Northern Storm in fourth with 5 points. Right? No surprise miracle run.
Yeah.
It's being very conservative. Oh, gentlemen, I don't think that we could have talked about the league any better than we did tonight. Pat yourselves on the back. You'll collect your gold star as you leave. Anything else that you'd like to chime in before we head out?
No, it's been a great split so far. I'm excited to see how it plays out this last week.
Jeff?
Yeah, nothing more to add. Thanks for hosting, Sig.
No problem. Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. Thank you so much. Well, folks, though Jeff's compliment is what's going to let me get through the week till Sunday, your Twitch Prime subs keep the lights on. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but glue, we could sell that if you don't sub. So that's what we'll have to do if not. So please click the button right above the image right there. Give us your Twitch Prime sub. Keeps the lights on. We really appreciate it. And as always, please join us next week, or the week after, because next week we're on break, when we talk about the league. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.